Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It is Sunday, March 22nd, 11:48 a.m. And yes, we are already responding to a question about the TSA and the ICE and everything else that is very nice. That's my last attempt at rapping. What can I tell you? It's that kind of day, and I need a soda. But it comes framed correctly because we had to go back and forth a little bit. The question everyone had was, President Trump has announced that he will put ICE agents into the airports to augment, or people say replace, but he can't replace them per se, augment the TSA. And CNN had one of the most ridiculous interviews with the head of ICE, and it makes you visibly stupid after listening to any of those things. Comment on us as well, right? But the thing that neither party says, and this also bothers me when President Trump does this shit, is unless he has a plan in his back pocket, Schumer and Jeffries are going to continue to push this leverage with the TSA. Okay. And there are ways to do a work or not a workaround, but to actually satisfy the law and satisfy the workers and take the leverage away from the Democrats and socialists and neocons. And once again, you're back to the train kept rolling. And it is all done in a legitimate fashion, but we also have to worry about activist judges. So all this goes into the question. And now we are going to offer you what we think could work, should be considered if either side really cares about the TSA workers, if either side really cares about the people going to the airport, and if both sides care about actual security from hijacking, which we don't do hijacking so much anymore, but there's always a first, right? So I'm going to give you a 7 day plan, 7 days. You will not lose 20 pounds. Your penis will not get longer, but within 7 days, the president could break up the leverage that the Congress has with the TSA payoffs. And the goal is simple. As I said, we are going to break the leverage created by the unpaid TSA workers. Then the execution has to be just as simple, right? It has to be fast, it has to be coordinated, and legally tight enough to survive the first judge who tries to attack it, which they are lying in the bushes just waiting, right? So let's walk through what this actually looks like day by day. It'll be only a few minutes. Bear with me. I think you'll like it. Day one is decision and legal framing. We're giving you the whole thing. All right. The White House makes the call. This is now framed as a continuity of aviation security issue. It is not a labor issue. It is not a budget dispute, a national security continuity problem. Key players that are immediately activated in a situation like this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've taken a bit of the information from what I mentioned in the other video with the beginning of the old war on terror and everything. United States Department of Treasury, Department of Homeland Security, Office of Management and the Budget, it's called the OMB, everybody calls it, White House Counsel. The legal position that has to be locked in is we are not spending new money. We are establishing essential personnel through financial mechanisms. It's all about how you say it, and that's why people lose in the Supreme Court. Day two, after that's accomplished, Treasury builds the financial bridge which is necessary. And you know, Scott Bessent is very able. He probably had this in his mind as well. Treasury has to move first. They coordinate with the major banks, the credit unions, the payment processors, and they give the program structure. TSA workers receive temporary payments equal to their paycheck. Those will be classified as federally backed advances. This is not government payroll, federally backed advances. You can look all these words up. We'll put out on Substack and the website as well. The distribution method would be direct deposit via existing payroll rails. or rapid bank issued credit backed by federal guarantee. So by the end of day two, your framework exists and the banks are going to be ready to do this. The banks will not drag their feet. If a bank drags its feet on this, they will get keistered by Scott Bessent in many ways, I'm sure. Day three, financial system activation. Now we turn the system on. The Federal Reserve System ensures banks have full liquidity and there is no hesitation in issuing advances. The regulators are going to step in, the FDIC, OCC, CFPB. They will quietly signal no penalties for participation, flexibility on compliance timing, and full support for the program, which means you say to the banks, go ahead and you're covered. This is not a corrupt move. This is done often, but we are saying it so that you understand what would be said in the same situation. All right. Nothing illegal has occurred. A judge may try to jump in on that, but nothing illegal has occurred. Day four, the payments begin. This is the turning point. TSA workers begin receiving deposits or credit advances or financial relief, however it's going to be worded, equivalent to their normal pay. Not promises, not IOUs, actual money hitting their accounts. Now, the second layer activates on day five. That is financial protections, the mortgage and rent forbearance agreements, as we mentioned under Obama, utility non shutoff policies, same, credit card and loan deferrals. All fits in the world where it's been done before by a president, mostly President Obama. All would be coordinated through federal regulators. Even workers who haven't received funds yet will stop feeling the pressure. You're not going to lose your house. You're not going to get all the negatives against your credit rating. Granted, you may have to work some of it out later, but we can only do so much here. Day six, operational stabilization. Now the DHS gets in there. The Department of Homeland Security deploys U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents into the airports. Perimeter security, incident response, enforcement presence. Okay. They don't need any new training for that. TSA only does screening. That's their game. It gives them a reduced workload and it stabilizes the operations. The airports will then begin to return to a normal flow. And we're talking the major airports. There are some airports this hasn't really affected, but the Miamis, the New Yorks, the LAs, all those things, it'll start to come down, which leaves you with day seven, which is this is where everything changes. The story is no longer TSA working without pay, gigantic lines, blah, blah, blah. It becomes TSA is stabilized, airports functioning. The leverage is gone because the pressure was never about authority and it was never about structure. It was about money. It was about a dirty Congress not caring enough about the lives of its citizens to do the right thing. So if the president would do something similar to this, I think he would have a winner. He can do this. I don't see, not that I'm a legal expert, but we've talked to some people and none of this should be able to be hit with an injunction. One would say if somebody who is a judge who is working with the Congress as far as is a socialist or a Democrat and tries to hold up the pay of federal agents, he's probably a piece of shit, right? But as I said, this does not bring you into any of those waters as far as we can tell. So once this money gets flowing, the leverage is going to disappear. Everybody will feel better about life. And that's all we have for you on this. It is sometimes that simple if people want to do it. Granted, Trump probably hasn't spent a huge amount of time on this because he's involved with the Iranian war. Whoever's job it was probably should get kicked in the ass a little bit. This is not Scott Bessent's war. This comes under Homeland Security, which was Kristi Noem, fuck up that she is, right? So this is an inherited problem. It is not an endemic problem, and it can be straightened out very quickly. I would hope somebody, hopefully, sees this. We send it to the usual people, but this is not an insurmountable task for the federal government. And that's all we have. Thank you for the question, and we will talk to you all later on.